Amira was a quiet girl of about 14 years old. She lived in a small town where everyone knew each other, but sometimes she felt like she didn't quite fit in. Her family wasn't rich, and she didn't have the latest gadgets or expensive clothes. But she had a kind heart, a bright smile, and she always worked hard in school. That day she wore her school uniform, a neat white shirt and navy blue skirt, and carried a small backpack. She wanted to buy a new shirt for school because the old ones she had were getting worn out. Her mother had told her about a store in the nearby shopping center where they sold school clothes. It was known for having nice, good-quality shirts, pants and uniforms, but it was a little expensive. Still, Amira thought maybe if she saved her allowance and did some small chores, she could buy a shirt or two. She had never been inside that store before. When she walked in, the store was clean and brightly lit. The shelves were filled with neatly folded clothes, and mannequins dressed in perfect school uniforms stood near the entrance. The smell of new fabric and polish filled the air. Amira looked around quietly. She touched the soft cotton of a white shirt and smiled to herself. This was the kind of shirt she wanted for school. But all the while, the store manager, Carol, was watching her closely. Carol was a middle-aged woman who had worked at the store for several years. She was proud of the shop and believed strongly in keeping it safe and orderly. But Carol also had her own ideas about who should be shopping there. When she saw Amira enter, she immediately felt uncomfortable. Amira was black, dressed simply, and not like the usual customers who bought expensive clothes. Carol thought that maybe Amira didn't belong there or was trying to steal something. Carol's eyes followed Amira as she moved through the aisles. Amira didn't notice at first. She was too focused on the clothes. She picked up a few items and carefully checked the price tags. She was planning to choose one shirt, the one she liked the most, and maybe come back another day. She didn't want to spend too much money. Suddenly, Carol stepped forward and spoke loudly. "Excuse me, young lady, are you going to buy something? Or are you just here to cause trouble?" Her tone was sharp and cold. Amira was surprised and confused. She looked up at Carol, trying to smile politely. "I'm just looking," she said softly. Carol didn't smile back. "Looking is fine, but if you're not going to buy anything, you need to leave. We don't want people hanging around and making other customers uncomfortable." Amira felt her cheeks flush with embarrassment. She hadn't done anything wrong. She didn't understand why Carol was speaking to her like this. She glanced around to see if anyone else had noticed. Some customers were watching quietly, but no one said anything. A few store employees looked down or away, unsure what to do. I was going to buy a shirt," Amira said softly, hoping to explain. "I just wanted to see which one I liked." Carol's expression didn't soften. "Well, then hurry up and decide. We don't have time for people just browsing without buying." Amira felt a lump in her throat. She carefully chose a white shirt that was folded neatly on a shelf. She brought it to the counter and placed it down. Carol didn't even look at the shirt. Instead, she told Amira, "I'm sorry, but you can't buy this here. It's a school store, and we don't sell to kids who aren't from this neighborhood." Amira was stunned. "I am from this neighborhood," she said quietly. "No, you're not," Carol replied sharply. "I've lived here for years, and I know who belongs." Amira's eyes started to sting with tears. She wanted to say something else, to prove that she had every right to shop there, but her voice caught in her throat. Instead, she quietly took the shirt from the counter and walked toward the door. As she left, Carol watched her go with a cold smile. Amira could feel the eyes of the customers and staff on her back. She wanted to disappear. Outside, she took a deep breath and wiped away her tears. She felt hurt, confused, and very alone. That evening, Amira sat at the kitchen table with her mother, Danielle. She didn't say much at first, but finally told her what had happened at the store. Danielle listened carefully, her face calm but serious. "I'm so sorry, Amira," Danielle said softly. No one should ever be treated like that. Amira looked up. Why would she do that, Mom? I wasn't bothering anyone. Danielle sighed and took her daughter's hand. Sometimes people judge others based on how they look or where they think they belong. It's unfair and wrong, but don't let it make you feel less. You are wonderful, and you have every right to be where you want to be. Amira nodded, feeling a little stronger. She didn't want to be scared to shop for clothes or to go anywhere she liked. She wanted to be proud of who she was. What Amira didn't know that night was that her mother and father had been working hard behind the scenes to make a big change. They had been saving money for years and had just completed a deal to buy that very store. Danielle dreamed of making it a place where everyone was welcome, no matter their skin color, where they came from, or how much money they had. Danielle wanted to create a store where children like Amira could shop without fear or shame, where kindness and respect were the most important rules. She believed that owning the store would give her the power to make things right, not only for her family, but for the whole community. For now, Amira didn't know about her parents' plans, but soon things would begin to change in ways no one expected. Until then, she held on to her hope and her courage, even though her heart ached from the hurt she had felt that day. She dreamed of the day when she could walk into that store again, not as someone unwelcome, but as someone proud and confident, just like she truly was. After that difficult day at the store, Amira tried to keep her head held high, but the memory of Carol's harsh words and cold stare stayed with her. Every time she thought about the way Carol had told her to leave, a painful feeling grew inside her chest. She wondered why someone could be so unfair and mean just because of the color of her skin and the way she looked. Amira was not used to such treatment, and it hurt deeply. At school, she was quieter than usual. She avoided telling her friends what had happened, afraid they might not understand or might say something she didn't want to hear. Some of her classmates had faced teasing or unfair treatment before, but Amira kept it to herself. She didn't want to be seen as the girl who got kicked out of a store, but inside, she felt sad and confused. That evening, Amira sat at the kitchen table while her mother, Danielle, prepared dinner. The smell of cooking rice and vegetables filled the air, but Amira's thoughts were elsewhere. She finally decided to tell her mother everything. She spoke slowly at first, trying to explain what had happened, how Carol had accused her of loitering, and how she had been told to leave even though she just wanted to buy a shirt. Danielle listened carefully, not interrupting. When Amira finished, Danielle's face was calm but serious. She put down her cooking spoon and wiped her hands on a towel. "I'm very sorry you had to go through that, Amira," she said gently. "No one should ever treat you that way." Amira looked up at her mother's kind eyes. "Why do you think she did that, Mom? I wasn't doing anything wrong." Danielle sighed, and for a moment she looked far away, thinking. Sometimes people judge others based on things they don't understand. They might feel scared or angry inside and take it out on others. It's unfair, but it happens more than it should. You have to remember, Amira, that the problem was never you. Amira nodded but felt unsure. But how can I change what she thinks? How can I stop people from treating me like that? Her mother reached across the table and took her hand. You can't change everyone's mind, but you can be strong. You can show kindness and confidence. You can be proud of who you are. And someday, maybe you'll be in a position to change things for the better. Amira's eyes filled with tears, but this time they were tears of hope mixed with sadness. She wanted to believe her mother, but she wasn't sure how. Danielle didn't say more that evening, but later that night she spoke with her husband Michael in the quiet of their living room. They had been married for 10 years, and their family was very close. Michael was a gentleman who worked as a school counselor and always supported Danielle's dreams. "We can't let Amira face this alone," Danielle said quietly. "It hurts me to think she was made to feel like she didn't belong. I want to do something real, something big." Michael nodded. I agree. That store has been a place where people feel excluded for a long time. We should make it a place that welcomes everyone no matter what. Over the past few years, Danielle and Michael had saved every extra penny they could. They wanted to buy a business someday, not just for the money, but to create a space where their family and the community could feel safe and respected. When they heard the store was for sale, they jumped at the chance. The deal had been slow and complicated, but finally, the store would belong to them. Danielle dreamed of a store where children from all backgrounds could come and shop without fear or judgment. She thought about Amira and other kids like her, who deserved to be treated with kindness. She believed the store could be a symbol of hope, a place where respect and fairness were the rules. But until the sale was finalized, Danielle couldn't share the news with Amira. She wanted the surprise to be special, so she kept her plans, quiet and focused on preparing for the new chapter ahead. Meanwhile, Carol continued to manage the store as usual. She didn't realize that the owners were about to change. She went on with her daily routine, unaware of the family who would soon take over, the family of the girl she had thrown out. At work, Carol was known to be strict and sometimes cold, especially with customers she didn't immediately trust. Some employees noticed her behavior but were hesitant to say anything. They worried about losing their jobs or causing trouble. Carol's attitude created an uncomfortable atmosphere for many people who visited the store. One afternoon, the younger employees, a woman named Sarah, quietly approached Carol. "I think we should be more careful about how we treat our customers," Sarah said gently. "Some people feel unwelcome, and it's hurting the store's reputation." Carol frowned. "I'm just doing my job. We have to protect the store from theft and trouble." Sarah nodded but added softly, "I understand that, but there are ways to do it without making people feel bad. Everyone deserves respect." Carol didn't respond. She turned and walked away, her mind filled with doubts but also anger. She didn't want to admit she might have been wrong. Back at home, Danielle was busy planning changes for the store. She talked with Michael about how to make the store welcoming. They discussed hiring new employees, training staff about kindness and fairness, and decorating the store to feel bright and friendly. Danielle also thought about how to involve the community. She wanted to hold events, invite local schools, and support families who couldn't always afford expensive clothes. Her goal was to make the store a place where everyone felt valued. Amira listened to her parents' conversations when she could, feeling a small flicker of excitement. She didn't know all the details, but she could sense something good was coming. In school, Amira started to talk quietly to a few friends about what had happened. She found comfort in their support and began to believe she wasn't alone. Teachers noticed she was more thoughtful and determined. Some even talked about how unfair bias and discrimination still affected students. One day, her history teacher spoke about civil rights and equality. Amira raised her hand and shared her own experience of being treated unfairly. Her classmates listened, and for the first time she felt her voice mattered. Amira's courage grew as she saw her mother and father working behind the scenes to bring real change. She dreamed of the day when she could walk into that store again, not as someone who was pushed out, but as someone proud and confident. Little did Amira know, her parents' plans were almost complete. Soon, the store would have new owners who believed in kindness, fairness, and the power of community. They wanted to rewrite the story of that store and turn it into a place where no child would ever feel unwanted again. Until that day came, Amira held on to hope, knowing that her family was working to make a difference, not just for her, but for everyone in their town. The days passed quickly, and the small town buzzed quietly with the news of the store's sale. Many people noticed a sign in the window announcing the change in ownership, but no one really knew who the new owners were. The regular customers whispered rumors, wondering what the new management might bring. Would prices go up? Would the staff change? Would the atmosphere be different? The store had always been the same for years, and change made people nervous. Carol, the store manager, felt uneasy. She had been told by the regional office that new owners would visit the store soon. She was instructed to prepare for a meeting with them. She tried to keep calm but felt nervous. She didn't know who the new owners were, but she suspected they might want to change the way the store was run. She thought about her job and her reputation. She had worked there for a long time and didn't want to lose control. At home, Danielle and Michael were busy preparing for the big day. They wanted everything to be perfect. Danielle was excited but also a little nervous. She wanted to meet Carol face to face and explain the changes they planned to make, but she also hoped to do it with kindness and respect. After all, this was not just a business. It was their dream to make the store a place of fairness and hope. Amira was especially excited. She knew that soon she would be able to visit the store again. She dreamed of walking through the aisles, without fear, helping her mother, and maybe even making friends with the staff. She felt proud that her family was going to own the store that had once made her feel unwelcome. The day finally arrived when Danielle, Michael, and Amira went to the store together. They dressed neatly, but casually. Danielle wore a warm smile, ready to bring positive change. Amira held her mother's hand tightly, feeling both nervous and hopeful. As they entered the store, Carol noticed them immediately. Her eyes widened in surprise when she saw Amira. She remembered the day she had kicked the girl out. Now standing there was the same girl, but this time with her parents, the new owners. Carol's heart pounded. She felt a mixture of shock, fear, and anger. She tried to hide her emotions behind a professional smile but failed. Danielle introduced herself calmly and clearly, explaining that she was the new owner of the store. Carol struggled to find words. She felt caught off guard and uncomfortable. The staff looked on quietly, sensing something important was happening. Danielle invited Carol to a private meeting room in the back of the store, away from customers and employees. Inside the room, Danielle spoke with a calm voice. She told Carol about her family's plans to change the store for the better, to make it a place where everyone was welcomed and respected. Danielle explained that she had heard about Carol's treatment of customers, and that she wanted to discuss it openly. Carol felt cornered but listened. Danielle then showed her the store's security footage from the day Amira had been kicked out. The video showed Carol speaking harshly to Amira, telling her to leave even though the girl had done nothing wrong. The room was quiet. Carol looked away, feeling embarrassed and defensive. She tried to explain her actions, saying she was just protecting the store and that she didn't mean to be unfair. But Danielle shook her head. "This is not the way we want to run our store," Danielle said firmly. "We believe in kindness, respect, and fairness. We want every customer to feel welcome, no matter who they are." Carol's mind raced. She realized her behavior had hurt not just Amira but others too. She remembered the quiet looks of discomfort from employees and customers. For the first time, she began to understand that her actions had consequences beyond what she had thought. Danielle gave Carol a choice. She could stay on as manager but would have to attend anti-bias training, change her attitude, and be closely watched. Or she could resign and leave the store quietly. It was a difficult decision for Carol. After a moment of silence, Carol chose to resign. She felt humiliated but also knew she needed to face the truth. She thanked Danielle for the opportunity and promised to reflect on her behavior. Outside the meeting room, the staff exchanged glances. Some felt relief, others hope. They hoped the new ownership would bring the change the store needed. Danielle then took a moment to speak with her family. Amira's eyes sparkled with pride. Her mother was strong and kind, and Amira felt lucky to be part of this new chapter. Over the next few days, Danielle and Michael began making changes. They hired new staff, including people from different backgrounds, and started training sessions about respect and inclusion. They rearranged the store to be brighter and more welcoming. Amira visited often, helping with displays and greeting customers. She felt happy and confident. For the first time, she wasn't afraid to be in the store. Word spread about the new owners, and the changes they were making. Customers began to come back, and some new faces appeared too. The store slowly became a place where everyone felt welcome. Through hard work and kindness, Danielle and her family were turning a painful memory into a hopeful future. Amira's story, once one of rejection, was becoming one of strength, pride, and change. After Carol resigned, the store entered a new phase. Danielle and Michael wasted no time. They knew that simply changing the owner's name on the sign was not enough. They wanted to rebuild the store's reputation, to make it a symbol of fairness and community pride. This was a big task, and they understood it would take time, patience, and a lot of hard work. The first few days were busy and exciting, but also challenging. Danielle and Michael spent hours at the store, meeting with the employees, discussing plans, and listening to customers. They wanted to learn what people thought and how they felt about the store. They discovered that many customers had felt ignored or treated unfairly over the years. Some shared stories about being watched suspiciously, being judged by their appearance, or being told they didn't belong. Danielle felt a deep sadness hearing these stories. She knew that changing years of hurt and mistrust wouldn't happen overnight, but she was determined to try. She started by hiring a diverse group of employees. She wanted the staff to reflect the community, people of different races, backgrounds, and ages. This way, everyone who came to the store could see someone who looked like them or understood their experiences. Training was the next big step. Danielle and Michael brought in experts who taught about respect, inclusion, and unconscious bias. They wanted to help the employees understand how words and actions could affect others, even if they didn't mean harm. Some staff members were surprised by what they learned. They realized they had sometimes judged customers too quickly or made assumptions based on looks. Danielle encouraged open conversations. She created safe spaces where employees could share their feelings and ask questions without fear. Slowly, the store staff began to change. They learned to greet everyone warmly, to listen carefully, and to treat every customer with kindness. Amira was proud to see these changes. She often came to the store after school and on weekends, helping her parents with simple tasks like arranging clothes or greeting visitors. She loved watching the new atmosphere grow. A feeling of welcome and respect filled the space. Amira felt more connected to the store than ever before. It was not just a place to buy clothes, it was a place of hope. One day, Danielle organized a special event at the store. She invited children and families from the neighborhood for a celebration. There were games, music, free snacks, and most importantly, an announcement. Danielle stood in front of the crowd and spoke about the store's new mission. She said, "This store belongs to all of us. It is a place where everyone is welcome, where kindness and respect are the rules, and where we support each other. No one should ever feel unwanted or judged here." The families cheered, and many parents thanked Danielle for her courage and vision. Amira looked around, feeling the warmth and joy in the room. For her, this was more than just a store event. It was a moment of change for the whole community. However, not everyone was happy about the changes. Some old customers and even a few local business owners grumbled that the new owners were making the store too soft or different. They missed the old ways and thought the store should focus only on profit, not on kindness. Danielle understood these challenges. Change often made people uncomfortable. She knew she had to stay strong and focused on the bigger goal. She believed that respect and inclusion would create a better future, not only for her family but for the whole town. Meanwhile, Carol had moved on. She found a job at another store in a different town, but she couldn't forget the store she had left behind. Sometimes she thought about Amira and wondered if she had really understood how her actions had hurt people. Carol felt regret, but she also felt unsure about how to change. Back at the store, Danielle and Michael continued to work hard. They reached out to local schools to partner on programs that helped children and families in need. They offered discounts, for low-income families and organized free clothing drives during the school year. Their efforts were beginning to build trust and friendship with the community. Amira's school friends started visiting the store more often. They felt comfortable there, knowing it was a place where they would be treated fairly. Amira even helped organize a small group of students who wanted to volunteer at the store during holidays and weekends. They saw the store as a safe space, a place where everyone mattered. The store began to grow. Sales improved, and new customers came every week. Danielle knew that the success wasn't just about money. It was about creating a place where people felt valued and respected. The store became a symbol of what was possible when kindness and fairness led the way. One afternoon, a local reporter came to the store. She wanted to write a story about the changes. Danielle welcomed her and shared the family's journey, from pain and exclusion to hope and inclusion. The article was published in the town newspaper, and soon people from neighboring areas started visiting the store, inspired by the message of unity. Amira read the article with pride. She thought about the day Carol had kicked her out, and how far they had come. The store was no longer a place of sadness, but a place of joy. Amira felt proud not only because her family owned the store, but because they had turned a hurtful experience into something beautiful. As the months passed, the store continued to thrive. Danielle, Michael, and Amira kept working hard, always remembering why they started this journey. They knew that kindness, respect, and community were stronger than fear and hate. The story of the store became more than just a business success. It became a story of hope, courage, and the power of change. It showed that even when people are hurt and judged unfairly, they can rise above and create a better world for themselves and others. Amira's life was changed forever. She had faced rejection, but found strength in her family and her dreams. She learned that being proud of who she was mattered more than anyone's judgment, and she knew that with love and courage, anything was possible. After months of hard work, the clothing store had changed in many wonderful ways. Danielle and Michael had worked tirelessly to make sure their vision of a welcoming, kind, and fair place had become a reality. The store was no longer just a business. It was a symbol of hope and unity in the community. People came from all around not only to shop, but to feel accepted and valued. The atmosphere was different. There was laughter, friendly conversations, and a strong sense of belonging. Amira was at the heart of all this. She had grown so much over the past months. The girl who was once kicked out and made to feel unwanted now helped run the store with her parents. She greeted customers with a bright smile, helped organize events, and even gave ideas about new clothes and decorations. She had become confident and proud of who she was. One day the town's mayor visited the store. He had heard about the changes and wanted to see the store for himself. Danielle welcomed him warmly, and Amira showed him around, explaining how the store now focused on kindness and community. The mayor was impressed. He praised the family for their efforts and invited them to speak at a town meeting about inclusion and equality. At the meeting, Danielle shared their story, the struggles, the hurt, and the hard work to bring change. She talked about the importance of standing up against unfairness and how every person deserves respect, no matter their background. People in the audience listened carefully, some wiping away tears. Amira sat proudly beside her parents, knowing their journey was making a difference beyond the store. The town began to change too. Inspired by the family's courage, schools, shops, and even local government started working on programs to promote fairness and acceptance. The community became stronger, more united, and kinder. People who once felt left out or judged found new hope. Amira's school life improved as well. She made new friends and felt more comfortable sharing her experiences. Teachers noticed her confidence and determination. She even started a club at school focused on friendship and respect, helping other students understand the value of kindness. Meanwhile, the store continued to grow. Danielle and Michael introduced new projects like scholarship programs for students, clothing drives for families in need, and after-school activities for children. They made sure that the store wasn't just a place to buy clothes, but a center of support and community care. Amira loved being part of these programs. She often helped organize events, gave speeches, and encouraged other kids to join. She felt proud that what had once been a painful experience had turned into an opportunity to help others. One evening, as the sun set over the town, Amira sat with her parents in the living room. They talked about everything they had been through and how far they had come. Danielle smiled and said, "Amira, you taught me something important. That strength comes from kindness and believing in yourself." Michael nodded. "We faced many challenges, but together we made a difference. And the best part is, this is just the beginning." Amira looked around and felt a warm glow in her heart. She knew she would never forget the day she was kicked out of that store, but she also knew that day had started something amazing. It had pushed her family to fight for fairness and kindness and to build a better world. The store was now a place where everyone felt welcome. It was a place where stories of pain were transformed into stories of hope. And it was a place where a young girl who was once rejected had become a symbol of courage and change. Amira dreamed of the future. She wanted to keep helping others, to keep standing up for what was right, and to make sure no one ever felt unwanted or judged because of who they were. She knew that sometimes change was hard, but it was always worth it. Her family's story spread beyond their town. Other communities reached out to learn how they could create similar spaces of kindness and respect. Danielle and Michael traveled to share their experiences, and Amira spoke at schools and events, inspiring many with her courage and hope. Life was full of challenges, but also full of promise. Amira believed that as long as people cared and worked together, they could overcome any difficulty. And she knew that her family's journey, from pain to hope, would continue to inspire others for many years to come. This was not just a story about a store. It was a story about love, courage, and the power of standing up for what is right. It was about how one small act of kindness can change many lives. And it was about a young girl who turned rejection into a new beginning, lighting the way for others to follow.